Hey, what's up guys? It's Scion Life here with my new video, Top 5 Beginner Sports Cars of 2021. This list video is not in any kind of order, so I didn't order them like 5 to 1, 1 being the best or 5 being the worst or anything. It's just random, just cars that I picked out that I thought were good to go into the list. This list is based on my opinion. It's just the things I took into account were the price, obviously, horsepower numbers, modding potential, such as the motor, suspension work, basically just the platform. And then also, I based it partly on how often I see these cars in the car scene, whether that be at car shows or meetups or just online. If there's a lot of one kind of car, it's a lot easier to make friends and to get advice on mods and fixing the car if it's broken. So I threw that in there too. If I missed a car or you think there was one that should have been on the list, throw a comment down below and make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get on with the video. Alright, so coming in at number 5 on the list, we have the new Edge Mustang GT, and that is the 1999-2004 model years. The reason I didn't do the first gen SM95 Mustang on here is because, well, it had a serious lack of horsepower. It was only making about 215, I think, and it's the same 4.6 liter V8 in both of them, but it got a huge power boost in 1999, and I feel like it's a very formidable car, even by modern standards. Whenever the car came out, it was $24,000, brand new. And as I said before, it is the 2-valve with the 4.6 liter V8, making 260 horsepower and 302 pound-feet of torque. It came in both a manual and an automatic transmission, and as with all cars, kind of pre-dual clutch era, you want to get a manual in it. The car weighed around 3,250-ish pounds, which, that's not super heavy, but it's also not extremely light like another car we have on this list is. But one of the pros of the new Edge Mustang is that of how reliable it is. It shared a motor with one of the trim levels of the F-150 during the time period, and it's extremely reliable, really easy to work on. Tons and tons of mods and forums out there that show you, power numbers and things that you can improve on the car, as well as if something breaks. There's lots of support on YouTube, on forums, and articles out there that can help you fix the problem. And I'll show you right here. I found some cleaning samples between 5 to 10 grand, and I just think this car is really a steal. You get a 4.6 liter module V8 for 5 grand. And the next car on this list, coming in at number 4, is not going to be a huge surprise really to anyone. It's all over, YouTube lists and article lists similar to this video. But it's going to be the Nissan 350Z, model years 2002 to 2008. Whenever this car came out, it was $27,000 brand new, and it came with a 3.5 liter VQ35 V6. The engine makes 306 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque. It also came in a manual and an automatic, weighed around 3,200 pounds, which is similar to the new Edge Mustang that was presented earlier in this list. The main thing that you really see these 350s used for in modern day is for drifting mostly. A lot of people take them to drift tracks, and it's simply because they're so cheap and they're very reliable, and parts are really cheap because it's a Nissan. So if you do break something out there on the track, you're drifting, you hit a tire wall or something just breaks, there's a lot of help out there for you, and it's very cheap to get parts and to source parts. Another big factor that goes into making the 350Z on this list is the huge aftermarket for it. As I said before, a lot of people will use it as kind of a drift car or a practice drift car. And so there are tons of mods, from exhaust to turbos to different header setups, lots of tunes, all that kind of good stuff. And as you can see right here, I've found a ton of good, clean examples of 350Zs around the $10,000 mark. All right, so the next car coming out on this list at number 3 is going to be the Scion FRS and Subaru BRZ. Obviously, the Scion FRS was only available in the US, so if you're from Europe or overseas, it'll be the Toyota GT86. But the specific year models I'm talking about here is the 2013 to 2016 models. And the reason that is because this was kind of the first, generation. It was before the facelift, whenever the GT86 replaced the FRS. Because, as you guys know, Scion went out of business in 2016, so Toyota had to bring the GT86 into the American market. And that's kind of when, the GT86 and the BRZ had their facelift, and when, like, the TS model and the TRD model for the GT86 came out. And these cars, whenever they're brand new, they're somewhere around the $30,000 to $32,000 mark. It comes with a 2-liter FA20 flat 4, which is a Subaru motor, and most of the mechanical parts on the car, even if you do get the Toyota, are going to be Subaru parts. So the car makes 205 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like a lot, but whenever you pair it with the car only being 2,700 pounds, it's still not extremely fast in a straight line or anything like that. You're not going to go out there and, win drag races in an FRS or a BRZ. But you will have a lot of fun, especially if you live in mountains or in canyons. You'll have a lot of fun driving curvy roads, and even just on back roads, just having fun. You'll have a blast in this car. It came in a cable manual and an auto. The auto in this car sucks. It's terrible. I do not recommend it. If you do decide to get this car at some point in your life, please, please, please get a manual. You will never regret that decision. Even if you don't know how to drive a manual, it's extremely easy to learn on this car how to drive a manual. And I would just really suggest getting the manual over the auto on this car. So the main, pro for this car, or the selling point, is going to be the balanced weight distribution of the car. It's almost perfect 50-50, which is why the handling is so great, and you really don't understand until you get into the car and actually drive it. The next kind of thing, is going to be the handling. So as I said before, if you live near canyons or mountains or a lot of back roads, you're going to have a lot of fun, because the BRZ and especially the FRS, they handle extremely well. They're really stuck to the ground, and I don't know if it's because of the low torque number, but they're really planted in corners and they're really fun to drive. The modding potential on the FA20 is pretty low, not gonna lie. There's not really much you can do over like the 320, 350 horsepower mark. Once you get above that, you're kind of risking, transmission failure, clutch slipping, and even once you get up around 400, 450, you're most likely going to blow the motor if it's not built. And so it does take a lot of money if you do want to make this car over 400, wheel horsepower. But I think if you keep it underneath that and keep it more of a handling car, like a track toy, or keep it in the canyons, the mountains, the back roads, you're going to have a lot of fun in this car. And I'll show you right now. I found some clean examples for around $15,000. The really, good really clean, kind of low mile examples are going to be around 17, 18,000, but you can get some 2013s for around, 12 to 13,000. So I just put 15,000 as kind of a middle number in there. But another thing on these cars is that the 2013 model year, it's still reliable. It's a reliable car. It's a Subaru. It's easy to work on. But the 2013 kind of had some issues, both with the motor and the transmission. So I would kind of stay away from 2013s if you can. I would try to stick with 2014s. And in 2015, they fixed the issue and they became, really reliable until, today. All right, and coming in at number 2 on this list, this may surprise some people, but it's going to be the BMW 135i, which they made from 2008 to 2013. This car was $44,000 brand new, and it comes with a 3-liter inline 6 turbo. Yes, this car comes with a turbo. And the first 2008 until 2010, early 2010, they made the car with an N54 inline 6 turbo, which you guys may have heard of, has a lot of problems with turbos. They tend to self-destruct. It's very difficult to keep the early years of the 135i reliable simply because of the way the N54 motor is. But in 2010, until they stopped making it in 2013, it had an N55 motor. And so the M54 motor was making 302 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Then whenever they put in the M55, it got a slight boost to 320 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. This car also came in a manual and an auto, and any chance to own, a manual BMW, a smaller car, even if it's not an M Sport, is really something special. It's going to handle really well. It's going to be extremely fun on the track, in the canyon. It's probably not going to handle as well as the FRS or the BRZ, but it will be faster on the straight. So if that's something that you may be worried about with the FRS or the BRZ, this may be your go-to, the 135i. So the car weighed 3,300 pounds roughly, and that's part of why it doesn't handle as well as the FRS, because it weighs 600, almost 700 pounds more than the FRS does. But it does make up with it with the power numbers, and there's a lot of modding potential with it. And of course, it does have a turbo, so you can turn that boost up a whole lot, because it's actually, it's a pretty big turbo. It's a good turbo. It's just very unreliable. But what a lot of people do is, because whenever they came out with the BMW 1M in this generation, a lot of people thought it was too expensive and think it still is, because those go for around 50 grand if you can even find one for sale. But you can get one of these, pick one up for around 10 or 15 grand, and it's really a steal, because you can match the performance of the M series with something as simple as, coilovers, maybe a tune, and like an exhaust, and you basically have a BMW 1M. You know, it is a BMW though. It's a typical 2008 to 2013 BMW, where it's going to have problems. It's going to be fairly expensive to maintain. I'm not going to say super expensive, but they are BMW parts, so they're going to be a little bit more than, a Nissan part or something like that. And the main thing you have to watch out for on this car is the turbos. Like I said earlier, they start to click, and you have to take it in, and it's really expensive. I think it's like $5,000 or $6,000 to get that issue taken care of. So that is something you'll want to keep in mind if you are considering the 135i. All right, and finally, coming in at number 1 on the list, probably the car that most of you have been waiting on, This is going to be the C5 Corvette, which, as you guys know, is the 1997 to 2004 model years. The earlier ones had the flip-up headlights, the really cool ones. The later years, did not. I think they stopped doing it in 2002, I think. It's when they switched to non-flip-ups, but I really like the look of the flip-up headlights, and so I kind of prefer those. But these cars, brand new, were $40,000, and with that money, you got a 5.7 liter LS1 V8. This was the start of the LS platform, the modern LS platform that we all know and love. This car makes 345 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, and you can get it either in an auto, a 4-speed, which is, it's fair, but it's still, really early 2000s, late 90s technology. It's not going to be as great as the T56 manual that the car could be optioned with. So C5 Corvette is going to come in at around 3,200 pounds, which is going to be similar to the new Edge Mustang and the 350Z in that category. This car comes with a big V8 in the LS, so it's going to be very powerful. It's going to have great speed. It's going to make a lot of torque. This is by far the best engine on this list if you're looking for modding or roll racing or even, like track day. This engine, the platform of the LS1, is going to be your best bet for any kind of racing, if that's what you're looking for. If that's why you came on this list, was to look for a car that you could go out and race, the C5 Corvette is going to be your best bet to jump into and get right into that. So, as I said before, it's an excellent platform, and there's obviously tons of help and different mods and lots of forums out there. It gets made fun of for being a midlife crisis car, but that's kind of a good thing, because whenever old people pick up these cars, they've been through the car community for a while. They've seen a lot, they know a lot, and so they know how to work with these cars. And since they're so old, it's really easy to find somebody that knows what they're doing and can work on it, either if you just want to mod it or if something's broken on it. The only downside for this car, really, to me, would be the cheap General Motors interior. It's going to have lots and lots of plastic. I don't really care for the interior that much, in the sense that I'm not really a big interior person. I don't need a lot of luxury on the inside. I don't really care for heated seats or really nice leather or any of that. I just want something I can get in and have fun with and focus on the driving experience rather than focusing on, whether my butt's warm whenever it's cold outside. But obviously, it's going to be an LS1. It's going to be extremely reliable. You can get easily 250,000 miles out of this car. And recently, examples have shot up in price. I've found them for around 15 to 20K for clean ones. I think it's partly because of, the current used car market. Kind of what's happening right now is that, the bubble is slowly getting bigger on prices. Like my dad, he has a 2012 Tahoe that he's trying to sell, and he put it on the market for 20 grand, and that's kind of a low listing for what's for sale right now for 2010 to 2014 Tahoes. And so I think the bubble's going to burst pretty soon. And so, in a couple months, maybe like September or so, I would say this list may be a little outdated because of the prices. And I think the C5 Corvette is going to plummet in price. And I think it's going to be an absolute steal here in about 3 or 4 months, whenever they get down back around 10 to 12,000, hopefully. But anyways, if you guys think I missed something on this video, or a car that you would like to see, that you would have liked to see in this video rather, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing and following along for more content like this. But for now, this is Scion Life signing out.